Oh, we got player behind you.
Bam.
To the east? Oh, you guys are occupied, okay. We'll just send, whose group is it? Okay. No, I'll just join. No, I'm joining. Relentless just wants me to join so he can blow me up.
Well, I just blew the whole this whole 4-man team up out here besides one person. What's up, guys and gals, and welcome back to another Division 2 video. Hope you all enjoyed that little bit of clip at the beginning. It's been super fun. But if you happen to be new to the channel or you're just enjoying the content, then be sure to ground and pound that like and subscribe button. And don't forget to reach up there, trigger the bell, and turn on post notifications so that way you never miss a live stream or a video that is uploaded. But without further ado, let's hop right into it. The Kaboom video that I recently put up a day before Title Update 5, and this is the exact same build after Title Update 5. Some of you were kind of worried about as far as the cooldowns. So when you're around a 30-second cooldown, and then with the DPS of this build and the survivability, you can pretty much do as you will and just utilize cover, and especially if you're in a squad, you can wreak absolute destruction on whomever, as you've seen in the clips. I mean, I was literally out there trying it on a fellow clansmate to see how it would work, and then some guy just comes out of the checkpoint and shoots him, goes rogue, kills him, and then he had to deal with the whole Seeker and Bombardier drone, and then he was like, damn. And then soon after, a group of 4 come out, so I guess he went and got his buddies, and then the same thing kind of more or less insists. And then after my Bombardier drone, it dropped 2, and then the Seeker finished those off and dropped another, and then all of them was down but 1. And then, you know, well, not having any heals and only being by myself, and that's, you know, kind of problematic. And then I went to try to, you know, use an armor kit, but yet not use the whole armor kit glitch that is back. So that inevitably got me killed. But in a group, yeah, definitely that whole squad would have been wiped completely. But let's hop into the build. So starting with the weapons, of course, Eagle, 27.7. Then, of course, in the normalized, for those that play in the normalized, 14.4, which is still ain't bad. And as far as stat-wise, I'm almost at 300k armor and almost 54k health, and you don't have to spec completely all into skill power to have skills that are actually effective in PvE or PvP. But in the normalized, as you can see, my armor is still 296k, and then my health is still a little over. It actually went up to 54k. And then, of course, as you know, your secondary, it doesn't necessarily really matter to me. But then, of course, in the holster slot of your sidearm would be recharged. While equipped, skills deploy at full armor and have a 25% duration, charges, and ammo. So it works out really well. Now, the only thing that's probably fluctuate and, you know, you can kind of, you know, change in and out, and that would be the chest piece. Because even though one piece Providence gives you that 10% skill power, you're not really getting a lot of bang for your buck just out of having one piece, because I only have 1686 skill power, and 10% of that would be from this one piece of Providence defense. But the current one I'm using has a decent amount of armor. That is, these are the normalized stats. But for the ODZ, 17,487 armor, 13% weapon damage, 16,283 health. Destructive, if you think you can go a little bit less on the destructive because you have a little bit more adequate skill power than what I have, then you can put hardened, such as in this slot, and then that would also boost up your survivability around another 20 to 30k in armor. And then, of course, in the mod slots, we have defensive, mending, 4635 armor, 3.5% total armor, 406 armor regen, and then, of course, an offensive mod, which gives me a total of 6.5% to my assault rifle. Now, if this was a skill power instead of, you know, a utility slot instead of offensive, then that would more or less further help the skill power issue. Or if it had another defensive slot, that would also further my survivability. So, you know, to each its own, whatever you prefer, whatever chest piece that you have. If you're going for, you know, more or less the hive, then of course you'd want 3 Alps. and you can still work that in as well. But for a hybrid at 595, you have good enough skill power, tons and tons of explosive damage, and can still dish out the DPS with your actual weapons. But moving on. And then we have one piece of China Light Industries that gives me the 10% explosive damage, 383 skill power, and then 30% damage to elites, and another destructive plus 20% explosive damage. Now on to the holster. 537 skill power, 10,406 health, and of course another destructive plus 20% explosive damage. You can kind of see where this is going, especially if you've seen the first build. Then of course on the backpack, we have 2 pieces of yaw gear that give you 5% total armor and 20% hazard protection, in case you're like me and tend to kind of blow yourself up. With 8.5% total armor, 508 skill power, and then 17% skill haste, with efficient and more destructive. And then we have a utility and a defensive mod, 105 skill power, 4% explosive damage, and then 5107 armor, 3% total armor, and then 1619 armor on kill. Now on to the knee pads. The reason why I chose the Heligard knee pads is because to further increase my survivability. It has 10% total armor in its attributes with more destructive. And then of course it has 2 defensive Lego mod slots, 4334 armor, 2.5% total armor, and then the 6% explosive resistance. And then of course in the other one is 5207 armor and then 2.5% total armor. Now on to the gloves. Now there are other Alps Summit gloves. For having this one piece, I get that 20% skill haste. Instead of an offensive mod slot, such as the one you see on your screen that I have another 6.5% weapon damage, you can get them with utility. And with the utility, you can further your skill power and more or less your mods that you need. Unless you want some more explosive damage, you can get that in a mod. Some specific, utility mods that go for a specific skill that you're actually using, such in this case for drone skill power or a secret mine utility mod to further your skill power on secret mines. But this one has 10% assault rifle damage and more destructive. So altogether we have 6 pieces of gear all having destructive on them. So our grenades are 693,662. Our bombardier drone here is 1,094,378. Number of bombs dropped is 4. And then of course, as you can see in our mod slot, we do have 975 drone skill power. And then of course the 146.5% damage, and then 171% another damage mod. Now if you do have your skill power up higher, to where let's say I had another 975 skill power instead of using this auxiliary battery, that I could actually go with if you have a mod for cooldown reductions, or such as the skill haste here. If you had a much higher one, you could probably get a 100% skill haste mod for the drone, and then that would more or less turn that 36 second cooldown into around 18 seconds. So that is the only, I guess, fallback or downside of running a hybrid, not full into skill build, is your cooldowns. But with better pieces that have more adequate skill haste, you can get that down significantly. And of course, moving on to the Seekers are almost at 1.1 million as well. They're at 1,096,745. We do have an auxiliary battery. Same thing applies as the drone. And then of course 93.1% damage and another 81.8% damage. But that's basically what it's come to. If you spec into skill power, you can lose, attributes in other areas, such as your offensive or defensive Legos attributes. So you may not have as much survivability, but it also depends on the roles and the pieces in which you're using. But if you do go with higher skill power and you don't need those auxiliary batteries, then you're going to have an additional slot to either put health in that skill, more damage in that skill, or get more skill haste reduction into that skill. So that's the only downside of actually having to use an auxiliary battery. So if you want something like this with the more or less the same amount of damage but with a lot lower cooldown, then you want to find skill haste and put it on other pieces, and also find skill haste mods to put them in your skills, so that way you can get those cooldowns really super low. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. This is more or less an update to that one to see more or less how it changed from then to now. You can go back and look at it as it was the day before Title Update 5, and this is as it is after Title Update 5. And I was in the ODZ PvP, so as you can see in the clips, it is definitely worth it, especially playing in a squad if you're sitting back, landing pop shots, sending in the massive bomber drone to drop that damage, and then following it up with a secret mine either to finish them off. But it is a little clunky at times, so for agents that are super far away, it can definitely be tricky and sometimes even a waste. You'll bomb them like way behind. So I like it for those that like to try to push up, because it has such a wide radius. You can pretty much mark 2 places on the ground in which you drop your bombs. So when they rush in, you put them pretty much where they're about to be and where you possibly think that they're going to be. So that way, if they do try to roll out of it, they still roll into a bomb. And then you still have your seeker that you deploy to follow it up. And then if that doesn't work, then you can also toss a 700k grenade in the direction as well to even inflict upon more damage. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you budging later.